Guys, something really weird is happening. I have just seen my absolute doppelganger on TikTok. We are identical. Same outfits, the same haircut. Our eyebrows could be twins. We even talk the same. And now I'm starting to wonder, is she copying me? Either that, or there's a few naughty brands on here distributing pictures of me to advertise their products. They're not compensating me. What I'm wearing isn't even by their brand. False advertisement. They're not tagging me, which tells me they don't want me to see it. I'm not a fan of this behaviour. I'm about to call it out with a screenshot. Some of you, upon seeing that screenshot, might choose to come off of this video because you don't find third world country issues as interesting as my TikTok tea. And that's okay. In fact, you can unfollow me because this is the sort of stuff that I'm interested in telling you. And it's very relevant to me having my pictures ripped off. In fact, you should find her story a hell of a lot more outrageous than mine. The girl in that photo's name is Sharbat Gula, and at the age of 12, a strange man who she didn't know, a photographer, went into her makeshift school because he heard laughter and asked to take a picture of her. And at first she was unsure, because in her religion, it's thought that girls after the age of 8 shouldn't show their face. But this strange man, who again she didn't know, coaxed her, with the help of her teacher, into allowing him to take a photo of her, which the National Geographic then used on the cover of a magazine, which they would have made millions of pounds out of. Guess who never saw a fraction of that money? Sharbat. In fact, the photographer never even asked her name. She was known as the mysterious Afghan girl for years, and arguably she has one of the most famous portraits of all time. Now eventually, they did go on to find her, but only when it was relevant to them. When a war broke out, they decided that they needed to know the identity of her. However, the consequence of them finding her meant that she could no longer live in the country where she resided and that she called home, and that she would instead be shipped back to Afghanistan, a place she had never lived in her adult life. Essentially a foreign place for her and her family now. But that's fine, because then the Afghan government actually paid for a place for her to live, but only if she agreed to go on talk shows, say how much she loved the country. But that wasn't the truth. And again, they were just using her for their own profit. Anyway, there is loads more to that story, and it's very interesting, and I would highly recommend you go and do some research on it because it will send you down a whole rabbit hole. And as for brands using my pictures, well, that's irritating, but it's not as devastating as what happened to her.